Quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take 1.
Action!
AKAPAD. We're gonna get right into it. If you're catching me in the morning on the weekends, it's this time slot for the Film Buff podcast is reserved for animation drops. We usually do discussions, and I want to get into my experience with the Lord of the Rings animated trilogy. 1977, The Hobbit. 1978, Lord of the Rings. 1980, Return of the King. I want to talk to you guys about how I discovered not just Lord of the Rings, but this level of animation, the idea of high fantasy, because even then, like I would say, the only experience I had with fantasy around this time might have been Dark Crystal, Conan the Barbarian, which was few and far between, and Dragon Slayer. And all three of those movies, I maybe at this point in my life, before discovering this trilogy, I've seen them maybe like 2 or 3 times. I'm not even sure if we had recorded VHSs of it. We're talking about this because, well, recently, with my fiance, she got into Lord of the Rings. So we've been watching the extended cuts, and it has been a hoot. It has been a ton of fun seeing Lord of the Rings live action through her eyes and getting all the cool, fun questions along the way. And one night I put on The Hobbit. The Hobbit was available on Amazon Prime. So I'm like, you should experience some of this. You should really see what the tone of this is compared to these movies. The movies which are deadly serious. And very early on, right? Like the difference is there, but there's these visual cues. There's Gandalf and his anger, right? It's the Hobbit, it's the Hobbiton and the Hobbit holes, and even the fabric and just the way that Sting looks, and even Gollum, right? Like there's all of these beautiful shades that lead into the Peter Jackson. So I say, look, you have to see the opening narration for the movie, for the Lord of the Rings movie, because in my view, like Peter Jackson, they borrowed so much from Bakshi in the opening, the red sky, black silhouette origin story of the entire Tolkien universe. One of the best opening narrations ever. It's not available. It's not anywhere. Then I look for Return of the King. Not anywhere. I Google. Not anywhere. And then that's when I realized that Lord of the Rings and The Return of the King, they're not available anywhere right now on stream. There was a time before the Peter Jackson movies where this was all you got. You got these 3 animated epics. 2 of them are one production company, and the middle one is Ralph Bakshi. His designs, his production company, his methods, his way. With all of this, my YouTube feed starts populating with everyone talking about Fellowship of the Ring. It took me a little bit to realize that it's the 25th anniversary. Very serendipitous, like weird timing, because in no way were we watching Lord of the Rings in any conjunction with any of the re-release. I didn't even know they were getting re-released. Sometimes I'm in my own hobbit hole. So I watch a couple of these YouTubers, and everyone talks about the movie, like, Oscars and nominations, and it maybe could have swept Best Picture for 3 straight years. How great the movies are, like all of this stuff, and they talk about the realism and just the deadly nature of it all, and how great of a character Gandalf really is, like all of these things. And no one mentions these 3 animated films, and no one is pissed or outraged that only one of the 3 is available right now on digital. Not long ago, all 3 of them were on HBO Max. I don't know what happened. There's a side of me that hates when the rights and availability of this stuff rotates off of streaming platforms. But there was a time where, when I was younger, when I discovered Lord of the Rings, discovered The Hobbit, I'll say. I was at my buddy Mike's house in middle school. Nice kid, giant house. He had every single NES game, like Genesis games. He had TurboGrafx 16. It was almost like Hansel and Gretel. And he had the Lord of the Rings trade paperbacks, and his father would give him really good money. Like, I think like $100 for like every B and $200 for every A. And that blew us away, like, knowing that. But Mike was a kid that pretty much had everything. Later, I heard some bad news about him. I'm hoping he's out there somewhere in the world perfectly fine and healthy. So he had these trade paperbacks. These were black covers, and the images for them, like the graphics were like photographs almost. He also had a early edition of, I believe, the very first Dungeons and Dragons, and the only time I ever tried to play Dungeons and Dragons was with him. And his father comes home one night and tries to sit down with us, and we just couldn't get the ball rolling, and we had like another night or two scheduled for it. Couldn't quite get it done. So at that point, I remember going to the school library, and the school library had the same editions that Michael had. And I took them out. I took out The Hobbit. I took out The Fellowship and just read them. And they were maybe like the fourth or fifth books I ever read. And at that point, this world, just for me using a platitude, but it all like high fantasy, high adventure, everything that was on the page, it went right into my absolute, and it wasn't, I would say the next year I read Dune for the first time. Everything I read in Tolkien went right into Herbert's Dune, and I just saw Herbert's Dune as a heightened, perfected version of everything Tolkien was trying to do. And then Dune, the way that Dune opens up for you. And we would like read these books and talk about them and watch these cartoons and renting them. I remember the revelation I had when I first found The Lord of the Rings, the back sheet, 1978. When I first found that on VHS to purchase, I was just in awe. I couldn't wait to own it. I couldn't wait to have it on repeat. There's so much criticism and bad insight into these three films. I never understood it. I never backed it. I just feel that these three films get the job done in a absolutely effective way, and they're part advertisement for the world of the books. And then later, like I'm talking, I was beyond the movies because I've reread the books around the times of the Peter Jackson ones. I wasn't even aware of some of these other writings and the stuff that his son put together and the full lore of Lord of the Rings. To me, Lord of the Rings is just those three books with The Hobbit, and I'm even to this day I'm content with that. But to hear so many of these YouTubers and commentators, and they're making videos, you know, are getting traction, and they're getting paid and making their money, and they're making their money off the back of Tolkien. They're not concerned or upset about this, about these films not being available. To me, they should be available to all, for all. These are seminal animation milestones. And by seminal I mean they should be rediscovered every few years. Like, re-embrace these films. Don't run away from them. Appreciate the positioning that The Hobbit has versus the other Hobbit adaptation that we have, which A lot of people have opinions on that. These 3 films fully roll into the discovery and the overall experience of Lord of the Rings. They should be available. I hope they are soon. Well, back to reality, aka Patters. Happy cartoon, happy animation day. It's the weekend. Let's have some fun. I love you guys. Rock and roll.
Roll sound.
Rolling.
Sound production, take 2.
Let's take this time real quick, aka Patters, my fellow film buffers, and let's just go over the schedule. This is years in the making. This type of rollout I've been planning for years, but we're finally here. So here we go. Early in the morning, that's the new stuff. 8 a.m. Now, 8 p.m., Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, these are movies maybe of something coming out, like if there's a Marvel movie coming out and we want to do a retrospective on that particular franchise, or if Sylvester Stallone comes back and gives us Rocky Part 18, we might want to use the later time slots for a week or two to go over all of the Rocky movies. Now, we have a lot of different threads on this podcast that's explored 8 p.m. So 8 a.m., 8 p.m. Wednesdays at 8 p.m., this is our creator spotlight. We could do an episode on Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, some of the new guys, Spike Lee, even composers, guys like John Williams. This brings us into the weekend. Saturday, Sunday morning. Again, we're back at that 8 a.m. drop. We do cartoons because I want to emulate the times where you would wake up with a bowl of cereal and watch cartoons all day Saturday and all day Sunday, and then eventually you would get to touch grass because you would have one of your friends knocking on your door to play in a touch football game or even some baseball, basketball. The weekend nights, let's get into education. 8 p.m. Again, all of our drops are either 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. But the weekend nights, documentaries, and I focus on creative documentaries because I feel like a part of this film buff movement that we're all bathing in, that I'm super grateful for, is education. And some of where we're finding our facts, some of the general enjoyment, because I love documentaries, all of this is explored at 8 o'clock p.m. And trust me, there's a lot there. There's a lot out there that I didn't even know existed. And we're going to go beyond that too. We're going to get into some of the graphic art, some of the special effects, some of the makeup documentaries. There's a lot to learn, and I'm so happy to bring you the 9 p.m. because, guys, you guys know I'm an autodidact. I am self-educated. Sure, I have some certifications. Sure, I spent time at the Art Institute of Philadelphia for animation. But in large, I'm a self-educated, self-made person that's connected to the weekend 8 p.m. drops. My AKA Patters, my film buffers, I hope to see you there for all of it. I love you guys, and rock and roll.
Okay, that's a wrap. Okay, that's a wrap.